is up, guys? Welcome to the Lumia Sports Podcast. We are going to come to you live today and the next 3 days, but more on that in a second. Why you guys are here is these coaches are fired. They're canned. We told you before the game, John Harbaugh and technically Mike Tomlin should go. One down, one to go. But we got to stick with the story, obviously. We're going to go through all these coaches and what happened, but John Harbaugh out after being the Ravens head coach for 18 years. That's right. John Harbaugh's coaching career has just graduated high school, and now he is looking for a college to show off what he learned in those 18 years as the Ravens have moved on. Some quick stats about Harbaugh. He did win the Super Bowl in 2012, the second Super Bowl in Ravens franchise history. However, one of the reasons I think he was fired, he was 4-7 in the playoffs since winning that coveted Super Bowl. And just for a start, he missed the playoffs this season for one, and he missed it, I believe, 3 other times in that stretch. I know he missed it twice before Lamar came and low-key saved him. And I think one of the biggest reasons, especially when you talk about the Ravens and how well run they are, I do think it matters a lot that they were number one coming into the season in Super Bowl odds. That means that they thought that Vegas at least thought that the talent, along with Lamar Jackson, would be able to get this team in a Super Bowl contention. They've been shorting the Chiefs for years, and I was thinking, I don't know if you just want to discount the Chiefs, but they did, and they had the Ravens tied with the Bills as number one. Now, that being said, right now McDermott's still there, but if they lose in the first round, who knows what can happen with the Bills. But they still have some things to be determined, but definitely for the Ravens, being tied in first in Super Bowl odds, a very, very disappointing season. And, I mean, you guys know how I feel. John Harbaugh had to go. There's only so many times you can blow double-digit leads. You can't be the worst team in the league up double digits when you have this much talent, at least on the offensive end, when you have a 2-time MVP and a Hall of Fame running back. And you're supposed to have a defensive culture and have defensive guys. I mean, they do have Kyle Hamilton, who I saw on some lists was, up there for top under 25 NFL players, which I thought was kind of crazy, but he was like 5 on the list or something. So Hamilton's a great player, but again, a lot of it comes down to just they kept doing dumb things. Remember, in the Steelers game, Kyle Hamilton, they looked great when he was in there. They were actually up 10-3, and then Kyle Hamilton collides with another player. Again, something that you don't see other teams do. It happened twice for the Ravens in this game. They collided with the punt returner on special teams. But full-on collisions with NFL players, normally professional NFL players, specifically on defense, in coverage. There wasn't even like a play. Normally just something you don't see. And that let Kyle Hamilton be out the game. And then Aaron Rodgers had his best game of the season, to where now, I don't agree with it, but people think that they can go out and take out the number one defense in the league. That's how good you guys made Aaron Rodgers look. 1 week removed from him being laughed at and only letting up scoring 6 points to the Rams. I think it was time to go. I know some Ravens fans split about the decision. That's fine. But the Ravens fans that I know who know ball said, get him out of here, get him out. It's time for Harbaugh to go. And I agree. However, it's not over there for the story, because obviously, okay, it's cool you fired someone, but who is going to be next up in the hiring? Some of the names rumored right now for the Baltimore Ravens, Cliff Kingsbury and the Commanders had an interesting just parting of ways, which I thought was crazy. At first I thought it was fired, and I was like, what are the Commanders doing? Like, is Quinn just trying to save it? But a parting of ways means that Kingsbury wants to go somewhere else. Specifically, it was interesting, too, on the Kingsbury thing, because Jaden Daniels wanted to keep him, whereas if you saw the Lamar interview, he was like, yeah, I can't think about that right now, but like low-key get this dude out of here. Completely different vibes from Jaden pounding the desk for Kingsbury, loving that offense. But Kingsbury, he has been rumored on the Ravens mill. I don't know. This was just garbage. I don't know, but I saw it on Twitter. Bill Belichick? Question mark? Bill Belichick? Don't know if I'm doing that. If I am the Ravens. And they also have an interview with Vance Joseph. So I don't want to just give you guys the names, obviously, right? I'm going to tell you who I think the Ravens should really be looking at. I think Kingsbury would be good. You would definitely need a strong defensive coordinator. But the further away we get from that Kingsbury tenure in the Cardinals, he got Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals into the playoffs in the NFC West at its peak. You know? I mean, it was still I guess, Mike McDonald. But McVay was still right there and kicking it, and he was able and so was Kyle Shanahan, sorry. And he was able to get that team into the playoffs until Kyler Murray completely collapsed in that playoff game. And, I mean, the whole team did. But I'm just saying, that to me is impressive. However, that's not where I personally would go. If I'm the Ravens, for the next head coach, I would go with Brian Flores. I think Brian Flores is the exact type of guy you need. He is perfect with the Ravens culture, defense, hard-nosed, hard-hitting. Now, the question is, and I'll just continue to give Flores praise. His defenses, although this year took a little bit of a step back, we've seen help the Vikings into playoffs, confuse quarterbacks. He was got there like, I don't even know what I was looking at, which is a strong cry from where this defense was at the beginning of the year. And again, at the end of the season where they just let up 26 to Aaron Rodgers and let him almost throw for 300 yards and have the most yards he's had all season. Not ideal. So I think Flores would be the guy. But now, as we're here and as we transition forward, the question now, it's not even a question, more of a statement. All of the pressure, as it rightfully now should be, is on Lamar Jackson. So if you bring in a Flores, and the reason that could be interesting, remember why Flores left the Dolphins. Now, it was because he disagreed with Tua's talent and didn't think Tua was good. But Tua would tell you he was bullying him, being mean to him. The reports, although I think they're garbage. I think they're garbage. I really, really do. I think there's kind of some horse fodder. Put it like that. That all of a sudden now we hear about Lamar's practice habits, how he's lazy, all these things. Clearly a ploy from Doc Harbaugh to sever a rift between Lamar and honestly try to get the Ravens to trade Lamar instead of firing him. Ridiculous. So I think that for sure, you know what I mean, that was to some point falsified. However, if any part of Harbaugh's stuff was out there and was true, Lamar and Flores could be an interesting match, but I don't think it matters. All the pressure. Same with Belichick, actually. And I don't think they would. I hope they don't go there. I kind of hope they don't go there. But if I'm the Ravens, I'm going Flores. That is who I would keep my eye on. I wouldn't hate Kingsbury. I just think the culture fit would be weird, and you would need a defensive guy because his defense isn't just plug and play at this point. His defense has been bad. And I think Flores could bring as well the requisite discipline. This team, remember, he had Miami on the doorstep of making the playoffs. I know they made it after, but I think a lot of that was because of the culture that he instilled in that defense. And you've seen Mike McDaniels actually keep that offense up, but the defense hasn't been as consistent and they haven't been as disciplined. And I do think that when you have a coach and you change over, some of those things carry over for a year or two. However, and I know you guys might be asking, if you've never seen it before, why do you call him Doc Harbaugh? Isn't his name John? No, it's Doc Harbaugh because he's the same as basketball coach Doc Rivers. And just like Glenn Doc Rivers, you can't keep a good man down and a good Super Bowl winning coach down. Although for Glenn, it took 4 Hall of Famers, and for Harbaugh, it took, I don't know, God, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, and the Ravens defense almost having a mutiny, apparently. My guy Jacob, who's a Ravens fan, tells me that they almost had a mutiny over getting rid of the Ravens. Hold up! We have a comment. Real quick. DJ Sweet Lewis chimed in. Shout out my guy DJ Sweet Lou. We actually did a recording on the other coaches, unfortunately, a little laggy, but I was able to save our other previews. And more on the schedule in a minute. But DJ Sweet Lou says that kick saved Baltimore. I agree, Lou. That kick definitely saved Baltimore. I was laughing hysterically when it happened, for starters. Which you know what I mean? I didn't feel bad at all. And I'm sure Tony El Tigre, who was also a Ravens fan, was happy. I think Jacob was a little hurt in the moment. I think Ruben was a little hurt in the moment. But then it was like, get him out. And the first thing I texted was, once Harbaugh was fired, Hitler's dead. And I'm not going to lie. Our president has a glowing support of Harbaugh. So I'm just going to leave that there. But to this point, it's not over for Glenn Doc Harbaugh. He will be back coaching an NFL team near you very soon, as him and the Giants have been flirting ever since he's gotten fired. I've heard mutual interest. I remember the Giants were trying to interview Marcus Freeman. Apparently, they don't care about that anymore. And Marcus Freeman probably, I think he has signed a multi-year deal anyway. So right now, Harbaugh and the Giants, they're blowing each other kisses. And that is the team where I would look at Harbaugh going. As an Eagles fan, with him, Dart, Scatterboo, I got to be honest, I'm not concerned, dude. Now you just got to have another guy who, just like Daboll, blows leads. But I think they could get more. I mean, you can't get. I don't know if the Giants can get more structured, dude. I think that's just organizational issues, and so leaving the Ravens organization to go to the Giants would be an interesting move. That is it for the Ravens. All pressure now on Lamar Jackson to go out there to get it done, and for this Ravens front office to not mess up. Because, again, all Ravens fans do not agree with this decision, which I find very, very interesting. Next up, Kevin Stefanski. So this is one of the more sad things that I couldn't get this recording in because I wanted to just do a full fresh one. Had Harbaugh not been fired, I would have just posted the other one, but he did, so we had to change everything. Harbaugh, clearly the biggest head coach in firing, but Kevin Stefanski would definitely be second. And my guy Darnell Jones, who also joined, we had a great discussion about it. He said that Stefanski was treated unfairly, mainly by the media. He's talking to me. He's a little bit talking to me because I said Stefanski should get out of there because he didn't play Shador early enough. But that's not the only reason I thought Stefanski should go. However, Stefanski, he did do some things that Browns coaches kind of never do. He made the playoffs. He won a playoff game. With the Browns. It's kind of wild. However, when you look back at that playoff game, they let go of Baker Mayfield, right? So when you let go of Baker, and again, not the best, I guess, year to bring that up, but Baker's on 3 different offensive coordinators. But yes, Baker went 8-9. He also missed. Buccaneers fans very upset that Todd Bowles is still there. So sorry about that, Mizzy season miles. But with Stefanski, I think that the offense started to look archaic. And I got to be honest, to some degree, he was hyped when they won that last game. He showed some energy. But playing Dylan Gabriel over Shador Sanders, not giving Shador Sanders a chance to succeed, and then watching at the end of the season Shador kind of win games, you have to wonder, if we do choose to go with Shador, which I think, given, I wouldn't even say how he played, but just the eyes, the attention, the monetary resources. We know the Browns don't make the greatest decisions, but Shador is, at the very least, kind of a money-making machine. He can have explosive offense, and we saw in that offense that Stefanski wanted to run, he was still able to make explosive plays, which they couldn't get at all early in the season. What I was going to say, though, I think the reason that Stefanski needed to go, because I think he's a little overrated as an offensive coordinator. I'm not going to lie to you. However, I don't think he's a terrible head coach or a terrible offensive coordinator. I even thought back when you look at the Vikings, like when he was the coach for the Vikings and he got the head coaching job. Like remember he had Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen in their prime, along with Kirk Cousins, who was really good, and Dalvin Cook. Like that offense was explosive, and they were making a lot of big plays. Again, early in the Browns' tenure, he was good. But also remember the Vikings offense still with Jettas, they really haven't taken a dip really since he left. Let's move this down a little bit. I like a little less headspace there on the camera. But I do think with Stefanski though, this season specifically, I think that things got stale. Whether that is his offense not being as creative, which I definitely think was a factor. They ran a lot of boring stuff that no motions. It just looked like go out there, run a dive, go out there, run a stretch. And I mean, sometimes I play Madden like that, so I can't really, you know what I mean, get too mad. But when I play like that, I don't do as well as when I call some creative stuff. And I also never go 5-12, but I'm also never coaching the Browns. I just think that the Shador situation is weird, and I think Shador is clearly the guy that you might want to give one more season to, because I think this roster has a lot of holes. This roster needs a wide receiver. They need all these things. However, with the Stefanski situation, you don't want Stefanski just still feeling some weird type of way about Shador, giving him the wrong wristband, sabotaging your team and your quarterback by not, A, giving the quarterback out there who is healthy the best chance to win, but B, looking at the talent, evaluating it properly in the offseason, and giving Shador at least some reps, knowing that he had the talent to just throw bombs. He just throws bombs. And that is important for a Browns team that just has no energy. So definitely think that Stefanski, even though Darnell says he shouldn't have gone necessarily, think it was a good decision. Now the question is, can anyone fix this Browns team? And when you look at their head coaching candidates, it's very interesting because their two best candidates are Jim Schwartz, who is currently their defensive coordinator, and Tommy Rees, who I remember as being a Notre Dame quarterback who is in the building. If he's been in the building helping that offense, I'd keep him far away from that coaching job. But the reason that I think that's interesting is because now if they hire Jim Schwartz, who I think he was a head coach maybe once and wasn't good with the Lions, but it's the Lions. But you're the Browns. But if you hire Jim Schwartz and just try to keep it in-house, I think that now you have a big issue with the Browns. Because they've kept the GM, and this would clearly just be about the owner wanting control to me over a lot of the situation. He might have viewed Stefanski as someone who didn't play Shador, who he wanted to draft, so he got him out of there. If there are someone outside of the building, I mean, there's all these options, but the problem is, again, because you're the Browns, because Stefanski is really respected, and we'll get to Stefanski again in 1 second, but because Stefanski is so well respected in the league, coaches might not want to go there. For instance, who would I hire? Cliff Kingsbury. Does he want to go coach the Browns? He just coached the Cardinals, right? Like, Kingsbury might be at the point where he's just like, all right, dude, if I can't get a good, and I wouldn't blame him, if I can't get something with at least a semi-stable organization or at least a semi-stable quarterback, because again, we don't know what Shador is, then I think that would be a problem. Obviously, let's just go with the Ravens, guys. Belichick not going there. Flores not going with the Browns. I'm sorry, it's not happening. So I'm very interested to see who they could possibly end up with, and I think that is so crucial. I think that's so big to this whole thing, but you're going to be the last one picking. You're going to be one of the last ones selecting, and if you take Jim Schwartz, you can't even say you're concerned about the Browns organization. They're just a bad organization. They're awful, which is why Shador probably won't work there in the long term, but I think that it was a good move to get Stefanski, but you got to hire someone outside of the building, bro. You just went 5-12. Turning the page. Raheem Morris, fired at 8-9. His second straight 8-9 season, he got fired. I mean, the Falcons' stats, man, they're incredible stuff. They have like a winning record when they have no chance of making the playoffs. I think like 11-4, they said, over like the last 2-3 years. They went on a 4-game winning streak the second that they were basically eliminated, including beating the Browns and Tyler Shuck. I respect both of those wins. But he's fired. And I also think it's tough. I don't know if I agree with the Raheem Morris decision. However, I will say in full transparency, I defer a lot sometimes to the fan bases. For instance, one of the reasons I thought Harbaugh should go, fan bases. Stefanski, now, even though Nell thought it was unfired how he was betrayed, Nell did say at some points in the season, yeah, we got to fire Stefanski. When Dylan Gabriel was quarterback. Now, when Shador was quarterback, the offense looked much better. When Dylan was quarterback, I remember us having the conversation like, yeah, this offense is boring to watch. It sucks. Get Stefanski out of there. At least run some creative stuff. Now, although he didn't end with that decision, I feel where he's coming from. At some point, it's thought. Falcons fans all over. I just looked up Raheem Morris today over Twitter. Like, we got to get rid of him. I was looking up Google, and there were videos being released. Yeah, the Falcons need to fire Raheem Morris now. Remember, I mean, they lost to the Jets. They play inconsistently, but I mean, I just got to be fair. It is tough. Now, this is part of the reason he got fired. Their GM got fired as well, and their GM made a wild decision. But it's tough, man, when your quarterback gets hurt, right? Or when your quarterback is 37, 38-year-old Kirk Cousins. So, now, did Raheem deserve a second chance? I'm not sure. I think I would have kept him for one more year because they did look like they were getting better at the end of the season. And the Falcons, as you slowly turn, look, my guy, Lou, DJ Sweet Lou, he said this on air when we were recording, so I want to give him credit, but he said that the Tom Brady Super Bowl just broke the Falcons, and I can't lie. They are slowly becoming one of the more weirdly dysfunctional teams in the league because they've kind of been here. Arthur Smith, I believe, just went 7-10 for maybe 3 straight years before he got fired. Now, all right, I was trying to save this stat, but we don't want to bury the lead. This is going to be their fifth head coach since 2020. Fifth since 2020. Guys, it's 2026. That's like kind of like this is going to be the 6th season. Now, to be pretty fair, I'm kind of cooking the numbers. Dan Quinn, he got fired after starting the 2020 season. Raheem Morris was actually hired as an intern then, but that's still a different coach as an intern to end the season, which is weird also that they hired Raheem Morris as the intern and then gave him a head coaching job and then just got rid of him in 2 years. Just really, really not good, strange stuff. But anyway, then they had Arthur Smith from 2021 to 2013, or 2021, sorry, to 2023. He out. And so now Raheem Morris, 2 years, he's out. The Falcons haven't made the playoffs since 2017. I think that was the Super Bowl year. They've just been completely broken since that decision. And I don't personally agree with the decision. However, Falcons Twitter, Falcons media does not like Raheem Morris a lot. And I will say something else, too, about Raheem Morris. I noticed this at times. This goes back to kind of, I don't know if a lot of people are going to remember this. He was a head coach before the Falcons with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And with the Buccaneers, he had Josh Freeman. And I was very interested in that team because Freeman was good on Kansas State, and I was really watching college football. And Freeman was doing like a really, really poor man's kind of like C.J. Stroud first-year impersonation where you're like, whoa, this kid, he's here. And he's not making mistakes, and he's helping them win games. And they had the muscle hamster too, Doug Martin. Rest in peace to Doug Martin. But they had Doug Martin as well, who would just go off, get big runs. That Buccaneers team was something. And Raheem Morris was the coach. But I do remember Raheem Morris getting really weird, like talking ruthlessly about Josh Freeman, then replacing him, then not being successful. And you kind of see shades of that still. Like Raheem Morris he's a little arrogant. Now, as someone who myself is a little arrogant, I can relate. But he is a little bit like that. That can definitely rub some people the wrong way. And when you don't win, it's tough to be arrogant like that. People will turn on you when you're not a winner and you don't know how to control some of that. Now, I don't know if he's been doing it as much with the Falcons, but there were just instances where I just thought there was interesting things. I don't remember what it was, but I think it was when he played the Bills and he felt like they were going to win. He knew they were going to win, but it looked like I don't even know how to put it. Maybe that's not an arrogance thing, but maybe that's just like an attention to detail thing, where it looked like that Bills game, he was locked into everything, and then other games we've seen him, like they lost 30-0 to the Panthers. I don't know, bro. Like, you can't lose 30-0 to the Panthers. Sorry. Even though I would have kept you. But yeah, no winning record since 2017 is unbelievable. No playoffs since then. That's stunning. And that's why I guess Todd Bowles is still around. He kept sliding in at 10-7 with those playoff appearances. Now, head coaches that the Falcons are looking at. Vance Joseph. That would be really dumb. I'm going to tell you why in a second. Kevin Stefanski and Clint Kubiak. Now, Vance Joseph would just be dumb because you're going sideways at that point. You really should have just kept Raheem Morris. If you're going to hire Vance Joseph, who has also been a head coach and got fired, who is also a strong defensive coordinator. The defense was getting better. That's not the problem. Do not go Vance Joseph. Now, I am required to admit that there are Rooney rules, so you do have to interview a coach who is melanin brown, of at least brown complexion. So Vance Joseph definitely would reach those requirements. So that could be a reason he's been up for a lot of these. Although Vance Joseph, the Broncos defense has been really, really good. I got to see him in the playoffs. He was blitzing a lot against the Jags, a little nervous. But specifically for the Falcons, no way am I hiring Vance Joseph. That would just be going sideways. Stefanski, I'm interested in that. I am. Stefanski with Bijan? Now, Stefanski might also be someone, though, who I would say maybe you give him a year off because I think that his offense needs some upgrades. I think that his offense needs some more nuance, some more motioning, some better scheme. Or maybe he was just done with the Browns and just gave up when he was calling those plays. But that offense was the worst offense in the league schematically. Now, it was bottom from a talent standpoint. I think the Titans ended up with the least points per game. Their offense is dreadful. But I thought the Browns had some talent. I think Fanning was good. Judy, we saw was good. Judy was awful this year, so I'm not going to put Judy on Stefanski. He just couldn't catch the ball. But even when you talk about, Flacco looked awful, and then he went to the Bengals of all places, and he looked like, I don't know, he's throwing 500 yards. To me, some of that's on you, Stefanski. Clint Kubiak. That's an interesting one. Clint Kubiak right now, I forget who's offensive coordinator for. It's not the Broncos. Let me remember real quick. But Kubiak, he's been, offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks, so that's definitely a good one. Their offense does a lot of fun stuff. I think that would be a really, really cool fit as well with the Falcons. I think you go offense. I think now you just put yourself in this position where now you kind of have to outlast. You just have to hope that your defense can kind of maintain and you can pick up the offense. But again, it's going to be tough. Who's your quarterback? Who knows? Who's your GM? I don't even think we know yet. There is a lot going on with this Falcons organization. I don't like that they did all of this because I do think that you look, and the big criticism was that they traded up into the first round for DNs. Well, one of them, James Pierce, had 10.5 sacks this year. He started coming on really strong toward the end of the season. They were second in the league in sacks. The plan kind of sort of looked like it was working if you get a quarterback. However, they didn't have one. They had Penix and Cousins, but now you still don't have one, and you don't have your first round pick this season. So it's gonna be really, really interesting with the Falcons organization. But I don't love the direction. I got to throw out another name too of someone who I would throw out there, maybe not hire Mike McCarthy. I'm looking at McCarthy. I really am. Because it's underrated. What the Falcons are begging for, pleading for, and I think they just need it, bro. Sometimes you just need a stabilizer. Mike McCarthy could come in there. Again, he's got another year off. Year off, Mike McCarthy. Dangerous. Mike McCarthy can come in there and just get you 10, 11 games in that division. He did it with the Cowboys, where they were winning 13 games, and you see him after him. They're not the most talented group in the world. I mean, they lost Micah Parsons, so maybe Micah Parsons, they make the playoffs, but I don't think they win 13 games anyway with Schottenheimer. And that offense was spectacular with Schottenheimer as well. I think that McCarthy does something. I think he stabilizes. Now, on the flip side, could he come in there and just continue the culture of just not being good enough? Sure, but I think he at least gets you to the playoffs, and I think that is worth something with the Falcons, so I would have kept Raheem Morris. Jonathan Gannon, I mean, we're going to be quick on these last couple. He had to go. It was awful. 3-14. They lost by just 40, it seemed like, to everyone. The defense just gave up. The team gave up. Everyone on the Cardinals organization gave up except Jacoby Brissett and Trey McBride. Everybody else said, we don't care. Said, we don't give a crap. Special teams, too. They were letting up special teams touchdowns, fumbling the ball. And if Brissett ever turned it over, you knew the other team was scoring 40 to 50 points. So that one, not that difficult. As an Eagles fan, I watched him be our defensive coordinator. Could have told you that. We actually did tell you that. We're like, oh, you want to hire Gannon? Cool. Get him out of here. Oh, the Eagles just went to the Super Bowl. Get him out of here. He lost the Super Bowl by coming out there with a defense that was terrible. And all year we had the best sacks, but our defense would just play the same coverages and get cooked. And now without that, even with Josh Sweat. Wait, hold up. Even with Josh Sweat going out there and having a great season, their defense couldn't do anything, and I thought that they had players, offense. They were just a wreck. They were a wreck from start to finish. He yelled at the one dude, even though I think he should have yelled at him, but they fumbled the ball. They lost to the Titans, and they went 3-14. They actually already interviewed Raheem Morris, which I think is very interesting. Also, I didn't point this out, but Stefanski also has been linked to the Giants job as well. He's been getting some head coaching interviews. Oh, we already talked about Stefanski with the Falcons too. But so that is interesting. Interviewing Raheem Morris. They can't hire Cliff Kingsbury. They already did it. Even though I think he'd be pretty great there still. So for the Cardinals, man, I mean, they would love a Flores, obviously. If Flores would fall here. It's like a draft pick. If somehow you could get Flores with this pick, because you could argue, are they worse than the Browns? They literally had a worse record than the Browns. They have less talent. Now they have less noise, right? And Brissett is a professional. That's cool for a year, but yeah, hey man, it's gonna be tough for this team and these next two to find the right head coach. And let's get to it, man. But for the Cardinals, yeah, you just Flores. I don't think Stefanski would go there. You're in a tough situation, but he had to go. Like, I think the first three you could argue. Stefanski, Harbaugh, Raheem, you could argue. These next three, with him, had to go. Pete Carroll, oh my gosh, Pete Carroll. The Raiders, literally the worst team in the league. Pete Carroll, probably the worst coach. Geno Smith had the most interceptions in the league. And especially with the chance now at the first overall pick in the draft to take Frankie Mendoza. You got to do it. You got to take Mendoza. That is what's making them a strong possibility. Jesse Minter has been linked to this job. Cliff Kingsbury has been linked to this job as well. So those two are interesting. Remember, Brady is a part of that. John Spytek, he's up there at the GMs. Having that year, not terrible. You have Genty, you have Bowers. You need to get the quarterback. You still need to fix that offensive line, but you have the first overall pick in the draft. Go ahead, take Mendoza, man. It's time to do what it is time to do. Go out there, get your quarterback. I'm interested, though, now with the Geno contract, what they do with that, but it might be null and void pretty soon. Didn't look at the details, but I definitely think I agree. Minter, Kingsbury, try to go young. I love Flores being out here. I really do. Flores is a dog. So, yeah, for the Raiders, they're definitely in a solid spot. We will see what they do there. And the Titans. Now, McCoy obviously was an intern, just moved on from him. The new GM is actually, I looked this up on, Titans Twitter. And the new GM, this is his first decision. And Titans fans are furious right now with who he has been interviewing because it is a shocking interview. He's got this name in the papers, and that nonsense said Matt Nagy. That's right. They are going to interview and kick around Matt Nagy, the Chiefs offensive coordinator, who's been their offensive coordinator since, I don't know, they haven't been good. They started taking over since they were bad. So Matt Nagy, I'm not hiring him. And if the Titans end up with him, I mean, Cam Ward's career might just be chalk, bro. I mean, Nagy was cool with the Bears, I guess, but nah, bro. Spagnuolo, both the Chiefs coordinators. Don't think I'm hiring Spagnuolo either necessarily, but I don't dislike that as much as Matt Nagy. But you know it'd be perfect for them, man. Speaking of stabilizers, Mike McCarthy, bro. McCarthy to the Titans. I would even say a Daboll to the Titans. I don't think Stefanski would do it. Daboll might not do it either. Because it's the Titans, but I'll definitely throw up there. Mike McCarthy seems like a perfect fit. So thank you guys so much for watching. What we are going to do, because I haven't mentioned this at all this whole time, what we're going to do is we're going to do lives, right? So we're going to do this. We've done this live today on the coaches. Tomorrow, Friday, we're actually going to do our playoff preview just for the Saturday games. Excuse me. Saturday morning, we are going to do our Sunday live as our Sunday games, and then I will redo the Saturday previews as well right before the games. We are also this weekend, what we're going to do is we're going to do the Saturday games, the Sunday games, except for the Eagles, and the Monday Night Football game. So a big stream week live for us here. Got a lot of work to do, so I couldn't really catch up with some of the videos. Those take some time to edit, although I do appreciate the love. Someone said that they liked the film breakdown. I really think they were taking off. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Please throw us a sub or a like. It just helps us continue to grow this channel. We will be back next week with some more reviews, showing some more film breakdowns. But this week, just a reset week. It caught me off guard. I'm not going to lie, guys. I'm human, and I didn't know that this was the biggest football day of the year. So next year on the Lumia Sports Podcast, we will be ready, and we're gonna fire out and be ready fast with some good stuff, as well as we're trying to incorporate my man DJ Sweet Lou and Darnell Jones. So we want to get them as well in the live, but it's kind of tricky with the Zoom. So we're gonna get them live Saturday morning, and we're going to do the previews, and we're going to basically be streaming to you guys live essentially a lot this weekend. So I'm excited for that, where we're going, to see honestly as well where these other teams go with their head coaches. So again, thank you for everyone who's watched or is watching. We appreciate the support all the time. Love you guys. So let's comment, shout us out, and please give us a sub or like. It just helps us grow the channel, and I'll catch you guys